Sales analytics, best practices for insights. Why most sales teams have data, but not insight. Most B2B teams aren't short on dashboards. They're short on decisions they can trust. It's common to see reporting everywhere. CRM dashboards, sequencing analytics, board slides, and still feel uncertain about what's actually working in Outbound. That gap is why sales analytics should be treated like an operating system, not a reporting project. The problem is bigger than build a better dashboard. Gartner found 84% of sales leaders say analytics has had less influence on performance than leadership expected, which is a clear signal that execution, not intent, is failing. When analytics doesn't change weekly behavior, it becomes expensive slideware. In an SDR-driven motion, the cost of weak insight shows up fast. The wrong accounts get prioritized, sequences run too long, and reps get coached on opinions instead of patterns. Whether you run in-house development or use sales outsourcing, the goal is the same: turn activity and engagement data into predictable meetings, pipeline, and revenue. The rest of this guide is about building analytics that managers actually run the business on. Define sales analytics the way outbound teams actually use it. In B2B outbound, sales analytics is the discipline of capturing, organizing, and interpreting SDR and AE data to improve decisions. Who to target, what to say, which channel mix to use, and how to allocate capacity. It's not more reports. It's a feedback loop that connects touches to meetings, meetings to opportunities, and opportunities to revenue. That loop breaks for predictable reasons. Gartner highlights the top barriers as data privacy concerns, 45%, poor data quality, 44%, and limited cross-functional collaboration, 44%. If marketing, SDR leadership, and RevOps don't share field definitions and workflow ownership, your conversion rates are just different teams measuring different realities. Good outbound analytics tracks a simple funnel from targets to activities to engagement to meetings to pipeline. Then asks, where are we leaking and why? The point isn't perfection, it's consistency. When definitions are stable, you can compare sequences, segments, reps, and channels without arguing about the math. Start with decisions, then build dashboards backward. The best teams start by listing the handful of decisions leaders and managers make every week. Which accounts do we prioritize next week? Which sequences do we pause, iterate, or scale? Which reps need coaching and on what specific behavior? When you start with decisions, your dashboards naturally become smaller, clearer, and more actionable. A practical rule: every chart must have an owner and a behavior it changes. If a number doesn't trigger a coaching conversation, a targeting adjustment, or a capacity decision, it doesn't belong on the home screen. This is also how you prevent the common mistake of tracking everything. Noise increases, attention drops, and nobody can tell which levers actually move pipeline. Below is a simple way to connect roles to the decisions they must make and the metrics that answer them quickly. Build the foundation. Clean data, clean workflows, fewer tools. Analytics only works if the underlying plumbing is reliable. For most outbound teams, the CRM is the system of record. Accounts, contacts, opportunities, and the engagement platform is the system of action. Calls, emails, steps, outcomes. Your first job is to ensure those systems agree on identity, stages, and timestamps. Otherwise, attribution and conversion analysis will drift week after week. Data quality can't be a quarterly cleanup. It has to be a daily ritual. The fastest way to improve is to simplify required fields, standardize definitions, and make hygiene part of manager routines. Pipeline reviews, one-to-ones, and call coaching, so reps update outcomes and stages within 24 hours. This directly addresses the reps hate admin trap. The goal isn't more admin, it's fewer fields and stronger discipline. Tool sprawl is another silent killer of insight. Bain reports about 70% of companies struggle to integrate sales plays into CRM and revenue technology, and only about 20% fully realize the value of those tools. Before you buy another analytics product, audit what you already have. Retire anything that doesn't help book or advance meetings, and get one clean reporting layer everyone trusts. If a chart doesn't change a weekly decision, it's not analytics, it's decoration. Turn numbers into behavior change with segmentation and coaching loops. Once the basics are stable, the real leverage comes from pairing metrics with coaching. Track leading indicators, list coverage, contacts added, dials, connects, reply rate, meeting rate, show rate, so you can intervene before closed-won results arrive too late to fix the quarter. This also prevents the classic mistake of focusing only on lagging metrics like revenue, which are useful for reporting but weak for weekly management. Segmentation is where okay campaigns become great ones. Metrics averaged across your entire book of business can lie, especially if you sell across multiple ICPs, personas, or regions. McKinsey's research links better insight to a 2 to 5% incremental sales lift, and it's not magic. It's what happens when teams isolate what works for a specific segment and scale it while cutting noise. To get to why, pair quantitative analytics with call recordings and real email threads. When a rep's connect-to-meeting rate jumps or craters, pull 5 to 10 examples and review them in coaching. Then adjust the call opener, objection handling, or targeting. That tight loop is what makes analytics feel practical to SDRs and managers, whether you run an internal SDR team or an outsourced sales team. Common analytics failures and how to fix them without rebuilding everything. One of the most common failures is over-tracking. Teams measure dozens of metrics, build endless dashboards, and still can't answer the basic question of what creates pipeline. The fix is a focused KPI stack per role, SDR, AE, and marketing, with definitions written down and sourced to specific systems. When everyone agrees on meeting held and SDR-sourced pipeline, your reviews stop being debates and start being decisions. Another failure is treating analytics like a RevOps project instead of a sales leadership agenda. A practical pattern we recommend is centralized ownership with decentralized adoption. RevOps owns datasets and definitions, while frontline managers co-design the dashboards and alerts they'll use in meetings. When managers help build the views, they're far more likely to run stand-ups and one-to-ones from those dashboards instead of exporting to spreadsheets. Finally, teams often try to buy their way out of analytics problems. Layering new tools on top of messy workflows increases friction and weakens adoption, especially in outbound sales agency environments where speed matters. Start by stabilizing one workflow, typically outbound meetings created, then expand to opportunity stages and forecasting once the meeting pipeline is consistently instrumented. Advanced analytics and AI, where winners are pulling ahead. Advanced analytics isn't about fancy models, it's about maturity. Descriptive analytics tells you what happened. Diagnostic tells you why. Predictive estimates what's likely next, and prescriptive recommends what to do about it. The teams that win don't jump straight to prescriptive. They earn it by making their definitions, segmentation, and data hygiene reliable first. AI amplifies whatever foundation you already have. Salesforce reports 83% of sales teams using AI grew revenue in the past year versus 66% without AI, which is a meaningful gap for outbound organizations trying to scale. In practical outbound terms, AI can help with enrichment, personalization, call transcription, and next best action suggestions, but only if your underlying tracking is consistent. Strong teams also run analytics like an experimentation engine. Pick 1 or 2 focused experiments a month, new subject lines, revised call openers, different LinkedIn outreach services messaging, and predefine success metrics and test windows so results are comparable. This approach is especially effective for cold email agency and cold calling services motions because small improvements in connect rate or show rate compound quickly across volume. A practical operating cadence for sales analytics and what to do next. If you want analytics to matter, institutionalize a cadence. Weekly SDR and pipeline reviews should run directly from dashboards, focusing on leading indicators and segment performance. Monthly retrospectives should evaluate campaign performance, capacity, and conversion by ICP and persona. McKinsey found the fastest-growing B2B companies are more likely to say their analytics are effective for sales planning, 72%, than the slowest growers, 50%. And cadence is a big part of that difference. Ownership matters as much as tooling. Appoint a senior analytics champion on the sales leadership team to prioritize reporting requests, protect metric definitions, and partner with RevOps on improvements. This is also where forecast accuracy improves. Segmented stage definitions, historical conversion rates, and cycle times create a forecast grounded in reality rather than rep intuition. Whether you build in-house or partner with a B2B sales agency, an SDR agency, or a cold calling agency, your analytics expectations should be the same. Transparent definitions, segmented reporting, and weekly behavior change. At SalesHive, we've seen that the most effective outsourced SDR and B2B cold calling services programs stay disciplined on the same core outcomes: meetings booked, show rates, meeting to opportunity conversion, and pipeline created, because that's what keeps the outbound engine honest. If you take one next step this week, make it a 60-minute working session to define 5 to 7 KPIs per role, document the definitions, and build one command center dashboard per role with no more than 10 charts.